This season has been a whirlwind. I've never seen 14 weeks go by faster, but here we are. It's the final episode of Gridiron Glory, and we have an exciting hour-long show for you. We're taking a look back at the best plays, the craziest games, and the most memorable moments of the season. And of course, we're revealing the player and coach of the year. It's all coming up next on Gridiron Glory. Get on. For the final time, welcome back to the set of Gridiron Glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. It's going to be a fun night. We have a packed show for you. All our Player of the Year finalists are in the house, but to start it off, we only have one team in our coverage that advanced to the regional semifinals. To take a look at Waterford's game tomorrow night, we're going to play a little bit of fact or fiction. Senior reporter Megan Vanslow is here to put me to the test. So Waterford and Harvest Prep, they made it to week 13, and they'll face off tomorrow night in Logan. So Megan has the stats for the game, and I'm going to try to figure out what's fact and what's fiction.
All right, Danny, before we get started, I just want to clarify that Harvest Prep is not in our coverage, but they faced a TVC Hawking team last season in the playoffs as well. So the footage you'll see of them will be from the 2015 playoffs, but I'll say they have a lot of players returning. So this season, Waterford's defense has had a ton of success. They forced over 400 yards and turnovers. Danny, what would you say? Fact or fiction that those yards came from 25 forced turnovers?
Megan, this defense has been ridiculous. I know they forced 17 interceptions, so I say it has to be fiction. Something like 4 turnovers sounds better for these guys.
So close. It's 41. I expect this to be a big part of the Wildcats' plan against the explosive Harvest Prep offense, but the Warriors quarterback only threw 2 interceptions through 12 games. The Harvest Prep star running back Danielle Bangura rushed for 451 yards last week against Danville with 4 touchdowns. What do you say? 4 touchdowns in one game? Is that a season high?
Bangura broke the Ohio single-season record for rushing yards and touchdowns in that Danville game last week. 4 touchdowns, it seems pretty legit. I'm going to go with fact on this one.
Actually, Danny, there were only 3 games this season that he didn't have at least 4 touchdowns. His season high is 7, and he did that in back-to-back weeks. He'll be the biggest target for that Waterford defense, so I'm excited to see how they match up. And the last stat that can't go without mentioning, fact or fiction, Player of the Year candidate Isaac Huffman and the rest of the Wildcats beat a team that has a win over Harvest Prep.
That would give Waterford an interesting edge. Fact for sure.
You got it. Bishop Rosecrans, who Waterford beat in the first round of the playoffs, bested Harvest Prep.
Well, it's definitely a fact that tomorrow will be an interesting game. And just because our live show ends tonight doesn't mean our coverage ends too. So make sure you stay online with Megan this weekend for updates from the game and for all the results. Like I said, to catch the highlights from Waterford's game tomorrow, go straight to woub.org/gridiron. Our crew will be on the sideline Saturday night to see if the Wildcats duke it out. And as always, the web is the place to go to watch and rewatch all the episodes from the 18th season of Gridiron Glory. Just because it's the off season doesn't mean you can't check out your old highlights. Go to woub.org/gridiron. So only one team left alive in the Hawking, but let's not forget all the action throughout 2016. The TVC Hawking, it stacked up a little differently this year, and the conference included 3 playoff teams. Catherine Morey breaks down the battles in the Hawking.
The 2016 football season kicked off in southeastern Ohio with the Waterford Wildcats defeating the Miller Falcons 37-6. This first game showed the Wildcats were ready for an epic season, showcasing their superior defense and ability to move the ball down the field. This win set the course for Waterford, preparing them for many more wins throughout the course of the season. After losing in Week 3, the Wildcats sought revenge on Trimble, and revenge is just what Waterford got as they emerged victorious with a 28-14 win over the Tomcats. The two teams will meet up again later in the playoffs. Week 8 brought the Southern Tornadoes to Waterford, where Waterford picked up their 7th victory of the season when they beat Southern 37-7. After a slow first half for both teams, the Wildcats took the lead before the end of the first half and continued to dominate into the second. Waterford's Tyler McCutcheon and Braden Belleville racked up 387 total offensive yards and 3 touchdowns to ensure a large lead. Waterford's impressive plays and strong profile of players has led to an unforgettable season. The Wildcats were able to dethrone Trimble, who has been the winner of the TVC crown for the last 3 years in a row, which has led to their first playoff appearance since 2002.
And now on desk with me is Hawking reporter Joseph Payton. So Joseph, the story of the conference had a different narrative this year, didn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, in recent years, this conference has been totally dominated by Trimble. I mean, they came into this season as the 3-time defending champs. But in 2016, the Big Bad Tomcats were dethroned, and it was the Waterford Wildcats that took over as the kings of the conference. As mentioned earlier, Waterford grabbed a huge win in Week 4 when they became the first Hawking team since August of 2012 to come out victorious over the Trimble Tomcats. Meanwhile, the Southern Tornadoes started off the season 6-0 and climbed the Division 7 AP poll all the way to number 7 in the state. However, their Hawking championship hopes were derailed when they dropped 2 games in a row to Trimble and Waterford in Weeks 7 and 8. Waterford's 37-7 win over Southern in Week 8 put them in the driver's seat of the conference and solidified them as the number 1 team in the Hawking.
It almost seemed like Waterford came out of nowhere this season. Did you expect this from them?
I mean, I can't necessarily say I expect them to win the conference, but I will say this. I saw them play Miller in Week 1. I was very impressed from the start. I thought their offensive line dominated that very first game of the year and really all season long. With guys like Isaac Huffman and Tyler McCutcheon in their backfield, I knew they were going to be a pretty tough team to beat this season. You know, this has already been an incredible year for the Waterford football program. You're talking their first playoff appearance since 2002. They had never even won a playoff game until this year. But thanks to this year's team, they now have 2 playoff victories, and it could be more, Danny.
Well, thanks for all your Hawking expertise this season, Joseph. We really appreciate it. And for the Hawking's game of the year, we simply had to go with Belpry's nail-biting 25-20 win over Eastern, where the final score was decided on a touchdown pass with only 15 seconds left in the game. Hawking reporter Steven Hernandez has the story of the muddy matchup between both teams.
The matchup between the Belpry Golden Eagles and the Eastern Eagles was one of the high points of Hawking competition this season. Eastern started the game off with a solid connection from senior quarterback Jet Facemeyer to Sharp Facemeyer. Then the quarterback scrambled out of the pocket for a crucial 18-yard gain on 3rd down. Later in the drive, Josh Brewer forced his way into the end zone as Eastern took a 7-0 lead. But that was Eastern's only positive in the first half, as the muddy condition of the field kept Facemeyer from using his effective passing game. And then Belpry stepped up and showed off their non-senior talent. First, junior Tajay Reams took a pitch and rushed for 14 yards, followed by a 9-yard rush by sophomore Ryan Simonetti. Junior Isaac Tullius capped off the drive with a 3-yard touchdown and tied the game 7-7. And with just 31 seconds left in the half, sophomore Jesse Collins picked off Facemeyer and ran it back for the pick 6. Belpry was up 13-7 at halftime, but freshman Brandon Simonetti threw a touchdown pass with only 15 seconds left in the game to beat Eastern 25-20.
That game proved the Golden Eagles will be a force in the Hawking next year with so much talent returning. But now it's time to hear from our first Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist. We'll stick with this Waterford trend. Isaac Huffman started his first 2 years at 2-8, but in his senior year, the quarterback led the team to the top seed in Division 7, Region 27. Huffman has been through it all with the Wildcats.
Isaac Huffman, senior quarterback, Waterford High School. Makes me feel good that me as a player and also my teammates, we've all put in the time and effort to finally do good for our community, who's been with us, and they've seen us when we've been down, and we knew one day if we worked hard enough, we were gonna be up at the top. We're just one big old happy family. Everybody loves everybody. I don't think I've ever been a part of a team that's been this close together. Never give up. Always believe in yourself and the guys that are around you. That was our motto this year for the team, was to always believe in everything. Believe in yourself, believe in the guy beside you, and just believe in everything. It's just for the kids growing up. If there's ever a downtime, there's always going to be an uptime if you can stay motivated and keep believing.
All right, I'm senior reporter Sean Knighty, WEB Sports Director here, and I'm here with the man himself, senior quarterback Isaac Huffman from Waterford. Isaac, you guys had a tremendous senior season. What's it like for you to go out on top like this?
Oh, it means the world to not only me, to my team, to my community. We're glad that we're still going. Got a game tomorrow, and we're hoping to come out on top.
Yeah, and your first couple of years, you've seen where this program has been and then where it is now. What has that transition been like for you as a player with all the other players on your team?
It's been a kind of a difficult transition. We started off rough, but we knew if we put the time and effort in, we would come out like we are this year. Got a new coaching staff this year who helped turn things around, which I thought helped out a lot.
Do you have a favorite memory from this year?
Probably winning that first playoff game in school history. That was a pretty good memory in front of all of our fans. It was awesome.
And how important is the community for you guys?
Oh, they mean everything to us. They've been there since we were little and been through the ups and downs with us. They love us and we love them, so it's good.
All right, I'm sure they're going to want to stick around till the end of the show. Stay tuned. We're going to find out who takes home Player of the Year. Back over to you, Danny.
And like Sean just said, we're going to be revealing our next Player of the Year right at the end of the show. And as soon as the 2016 title is given out, we want to hear your reaction to this year's winner. Hit us up on Twitter at Gridiron Glory and head over to Facebook and give Gridiron Glory a like. Even though it's officially the off-season for almost all our teams, you can still send us Snapchats of you putting in work to get your team ready to go for 2017. Now let's switch focus to the NBL, arguably one of the strongest conferences we cover. This season, the talent was some of the best we've seen in years, so much so that the NBL ended in a three-way tie. Justin Cudahy takes a look back at the best moments from 2016.
It was a race to the finish in the NBL this season, with teams looking to steal the crown from Tri-Valley, who'd won the conference for 5 straight years. The Scotties would outscore their opponents by a margin of 256-38 in the first 7 weeks. Meanwhile, the Sheridan Generals were out looking for redemption after finishing second last season, with their only conference loss coming against the Scotties in Week 9. The Generals started the 2016 season strong behind quarterback and Gridiron Glory Player of the Year candidate Dylan Dupler. Sheridan earned their first loss in the conference during their Week 7 showdown, falling to Philo 10-7. The following week, the Generals marched into Tri-Valley in what would be one of the most important games of the year. Sheridan put up 42 points that game, which would be enough to end the Scotties' 47-game win streak in the NBL. At this point, it was Philo who remained undefeated in the conference, looking to win their first title since 1995. In the final week of the regular season, the Electrics, led by Gridiron Glory Coach of the Year candidate Dirk Lincecum, were unable to pull off the upset, losing to Tri-Valley 7-0, leading to a three-way tie between Tri-Valley, Sheridan, and Philo for the top spot.
Crazy year in the NBL, and here with me now for one last time is our NBL reporter Megan Stamper. Megan, you saw a lot of NBL action this year. What stood out this season and made the league more exciting than it has been in the past?
Definitely the level of competition that we saw this year, Danny. It was that exciting ending that finished in a three-way tie between Philo, Sheridan, and Tri-Valley for the crown. We saw perennial NBL title contender Maysville fall off a little bit this year, but that was to be expected after they lost majority of their starters. And looking to next season, Maysville should be in pretty good shape. Quarterback Connor Sidwell will be back for his senior year and should be able to lead the Panthers to more victories in 2017. As for Sheridan and Philo, they are losing a lot of their starters to graduation and will have a much younger and unexperienced teams next year.
So you mentioned Maysville, but what about some of the other teams that finished toward the bottom of the NBL?
Well, even though they didn't win a league title or make the playoffs, the Morgan Raiders should be proud of their season. They finished 5-5, and that's the first time they finished with at least a 500 record since the 2007 season. The Ceramics out in Crooksville took a step back this year, finishing 1-9. They had a few close games where they lost by 9 points or fewer, but they had injury problems in a small senior class this year, and that didn't help them. New Lexington finished 3-7 for the second year in a row, and West Muskingum rounded out the bottom of the conference with their 0-10 record.
Well, thanks for all your great work over the past 4 years, Megan. You've definitely become the NBL expert. So before we move on, let's take a look back at the biggest NBL showdowns. The Sheridan Generals stormed into Tri-Valley territory to overturn the Scotties' undefeated run in the NBL.
Week 8, Dylan Dupler and the Sheridan Generals traveled to Dresden, Ohio to take on the undefeated Tri-Valley Scotties in a must-win NBL matchup. This game was a shootout, and the Generals got things started with a 5-yard touchdown run from Justin Bobo. But after that initial touchdown, it was all Dylan Dupler for the Generals offense. The Scotties defense had no answer for the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist. At the half, Dupler had 2 running touchdowns to give the Generals a 21-10 lead. The Scotties quarterback Andrew Newsom also had himself a night. 60 of his 134 rushing yards came right here on this touchdown run, cutting the Generals' lead to 11 points. After throwing an interception, Newsome and the Scotties abandoned the passing game, and it seemed to work. Newsome picked up his third touchdown late in the fourth quarter to bring the score to 35-24 Sheridan. Dupler, who also had 4 running touchdowns, completed just 6 passes on the night. Despite a lack of passing, Dupler still found Mike Giddings for the 66-yard touchdown to end the game. Sheridan went home with a 42-24 win to snap Tri-Valley's 46-game win streak against MVL teams. Dupler finished the night with 5 touchdowns, 355 yards, a share of the MVL title, and a ticket to the playoffs.
The MVL was so strong this year, 2 of our top 5 games come out of this conference. For the second game, we'll take a look back at the regular season finale. It was a bruiser between Philo and Tri-Valley that showcased the strength of both defenses.
Tri-Valley Philo, a matchup few predicted at the beginning of the year would hold the key to the MVL title race. But this matchup didn't just hold the key, it ended up being one of the best matchups we've watched all season. The story of this game was defense, neither team giving an inch to the opponent, with Philo looking for its first outright title since 1995, and Tri-Valley looking to show they are still the top dog in the MVL. By the end of the first half, this game already looked to be going down to the wire as it remained knotted up at 0. As good as the Philo team had been all season, their downfall came in sloppy play as they just weren't able to hold onto the ball, committing 5 turnovers. Tri-Valley was finally able to take advantage of the extra possessions when junior Caleb Craig was able to take the handoff from 2 yards out with 1:31 left in the third quarter to give Tri-Valley the only score of the game and a share of the MVL crown.
I don't think anyone expected it to be such a low-scoring game, but that'll be a great rematch next year. It's time to meet our second Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, Dylan Dupler. Not only did Dupler help the Generals hand Tri-Valley their first MVL loss in 47 games, he also led Sheridan to a share of the MVL title.
Dylan Dupler, senior quarterback, Sheridan High School. Like a quiet leader. Like I'm outgoing, but what needs to get done, I'll get done, and I'll get you where you need to be and what you need to do, and I'll let you know how I want it done and what I think's right. And so I think that's a big part of me. Like small goals throughout the week, just we wanted to take the next step every day, nothing backwards, and then we wanted to win the league and then make the playoffs and then see how far we can go from there. I didn't know I'd be the player of the year and to be sitting here today at the beginning of the year, honestly, but I mean, they helped me out a lot. We had good receivers around me, and they made plays for me. I mean, sometimes you'll be on the sidelines and you can hear little kids, like they'll be yelling your name and your number. There's just one kid who always wants to get pictures with me after the game and stuff like that, and that's special.
All right, I'm here with Dylan Dupler right now, and we've been talking about it for the past few minutes. What did it feel like for you guys to get that win over Tri-Valley?
That was probably my most memorable game of the year. I guess any time you can knock off a team like that that's had that long of a streak of 5 straight NBL titles, 47 straight league games they've won, to knock them off. I mean, whenever they look back on it, they're gonna be like, who knocked them off? And it'll be the team that we played for, the 2016 Sheridan Generals.
Yeah, and how does it feel for you guys to have a share of that NBL title?
I mean, since 2010, there hasn't been a title at Sheridan, so it means a lot. For our senior class, for our coach this year, it was his first year as a head coach. He wanted it bad for us, and we knew we could do it for him. So that was one of our big goals.
All right, thanks Dylan for joining us, and stay tuned till the end of the episode. We'll reveal who won the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year.
All right, it's time for our Snapchat of the Week. This time we feature our online host, Eric Threet II, and our Player of the Year finalist, Justin Harvey. Harvey looking spiffy in his purple bow tie, repping the Bulldogs colors. Thanks for the Snapchat, guys, and don't forget to follow Gridiron Glory on Snapchat. With all but one team entering the offseason, we can just about tie a bow on the 2016 high school football season. But online host Eric Threet II joins me now to talk about the leaders this season.
The whole time I was compiling these stats, I was thinking about fantasy football. Who is going to be in my lineup this week? We had a lot of dual threat quarterbacks, 1,000-yard rushers, 20 touchdown seasons. My team would have been set regardless of who I picked up. But let's start with the wide receivers. Leading the receivers in touchdown receptions is Jacob Hardy. He had 14 receptions for 15 total touchdowns on the season. Up in Duncan Falls, Jacob Moeller scored 15 touchdowns 4 different ways. He caught 8, rushed for 5, threw for 1, and he turned a punt return into 6 points. Trey Craycraft, the first 1,000-yard receiver in River Valley's history, but Trey Ivy had 1 touchdown every 2.5 catches. Trace Albin and Robert Dickelman, both coming back, both had 11 touchdowns on the season for Athens, and Zach Bartram had a quarterback change midway through the season, still managed to put up 9 touchdowns. 4 of those came on the ground, but it didn't compare to the 22 Travis J. John scored this year. Wellston, Waterford, and Jackson all have 2 running backs in the top 10 this year. Tyler McCutcheon and Braden Belleville are the only ones that are left in the postseason. Johnny Sheets led our coverage in rushing yards and plowed for 17 touchdowns, and Player of the Year finalist Alex Mount rounds out the top 10 with 15 touchdowns. 3 of our other 4 finalists are in the top 10 in passing touchdowns. Justin Harvey led our coverage with 24, Clay had 20, Isaac had 18. We'll talk about the Dupster in a second. Blake and Johnny, they got so much love this year, but what about Bryce Hall? A strong 21 touchdowns through the air. Brendan Saino, 20 touchdowns, 1 interception. I'm going to leave that there. Gary Brooks, the only member of this list not to throw for 1,000 yards, but was still able to pump out 17 touchdowns and he won a playoff game as a sophomore. But speaking of young bucks, let's talk about junior Nayland Yates. He will be the only person returning from the top 6 of the total touchdown leaders this year. Klay Edler had 39 touchdowns, leading Unioto to their first ever postseason berth. Now we get to talk about the Dupster. He tied Travis J. John for the most rushing touchdowns in our coverage this year while scoring every way you can on offense. Justin Harvey, he's probably somewhere in the studio smiling. He happily delivered the most touchdown passes in our coverage. Hunter Edwards, like Mr. Alex Mount, played a big role in Nelsonville, York's success this year, scoring on offense, defense, and special teams. And last but not least, Isaac Huffman, the quarterback of the winningest team in our coverage this year. When he took over as quarterback for Waterford his freshman year, the Wildcats were 2-8, and now they have a chance to become regional champions.
Well, we'll see if they do tomorrow, but Eric, thanks so much for bringing so much fun and flavor to the season, but what's next for you?
What's next? I'm taking over. This is all me. This is my desk now. I am the host of Hardwood Heroes. I'm so excited, but with all seriousness, thank you for your great leadership. I have a high ceiling to reach. You were a great host this year. I have to top Sean, what he did last year. His promo, he threw the ball over his head 2 times and made it both. Sean's not even a baller. Sean, I didn't understand.
You're a baller.
Of course I'm a baller. You know how I do, but I'm very excited. Tomorrow you can look for us. We'll be out there at Vinton County for the girls' preseason tournament. It starts at 10 o'clock, but we'll be out there about 2:45, and I'm very excited.
Well, I'm excited for you. Can't wait to watch, Eric. The time is ticking away before we reveal Gridiron Glory's next Coach of the Year. This year's finalists are Rusty Richards, Dirk Lincecum, Paul Culver III, Eric McCutcheon, and Jeff Metzler. Be sure to keep it right here to see if your coach was able to come out on top. And as always, you can tweet us your reactions after the winner is announced. The historic SEOAL comes to an end after this season, but before we say goodbye, let's take a look back at how Jackson, Logan, and Warren close out the conference. Ryan Lewis breaks down the SEOAL's final run.
After 92 seasons, the SEOAL has come to an end, but not without giving us plenty to talk about in the final season. Down to just 3 teams, Jackson, Warren, and Logan, it was hard to say who would compete with Jackson for the league title. In the end, it was the Ironmen who took the title for the 5th time in 7 seasons. Despite going 6-4 and missing the playoffs, head coach Andy Hall was named SEOAL Coach of the Year. Next year, the Ironmen will be joining another league from the Chillicothe area. Logan finished 2nd in the league, going 1-1. The Chieftains felt the pain firsthand of not having longtime starter Lane Little under center as they went 2-8. Little averaged 214 passing yards last year, while quarterback Brady Walsh averaged under 100 yards this year. Walsh is just a junior, so the Chieftains will have him at the helm next year as they go independent. The Warren Warriors also went 2-8, but see it as a success as they went 0-10 last year. Head coach Tim Carver was in his first season and was able to implement a sense of pride in community and team, and look to carry it over into next season as the Warriors will be joining the Ohio Valley Athletic Conference. So in the final SEOAL season, there is still plenty of excitement from the remaining teams.
Like I said, 2016 is the final year of the league. The SEOAL was a constant source of action in our coverage area, and it's been around way before our show even started. SEOAL reporter Blake Baker joins me now. And Blake, it sounds like you've been hitting the history books.
It's such an interesting history, Danny. Since 1925, the SEOAL crowned 12 different champions and played over 2,100 football games. And with all that, it's only right that we at Gridiron Glory give the SEOAL the farewell it deserves. After 92 seasons of football tradition, the SEOAL has played its final game. The SEOAL is Ohio's oldest non-city athletic league, meaning it's a combination of teams from different counties and school districts. In its final year, the league was home to 3 teams, Warren, and 2 charter members in Logan and Jackson. With the longest history in the conference, naturally, the Chieftains and Ironmen have seen the most success.
For Logan, Jackson's always kind of been that ancient football rival. If you graduated in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, or more recently, the Jackson-Logan game decided the league championship. The two combined for 51 league titles in 92 years, and I think that kind of says it all.
Jackson's 25 league titles are second all-time, and under coach Andy Hall, the Ironmen have won 5 of the last 7 conference crowns. Logan edges out Jackson with 26 titles, claiming the most in league history. The Chieftains found most of their success under Dale Amix, who served as head coach from 1998 to 2009.
Out of 20 years that I coached, we won the league 13 times, finished second a couple times too. I think the SEOAL made an impression on me as far as what I did for it. I think I brought a competitive team into the game every year, into the league, and was very fortunate to win a lot of championships. So. And I'll just let that stand where it is.
The conference has seen its final day. 17 total teams played in the league, but for the core group of them, the SEOAL holds a lifetime of memories.
To me, when I think Logan football, I think SEOAL, I think Jackson, Gallipolis, Athens, Warren, those kind of games, and Friday nights, and like I said, I hate to see it go, but there's nothing you can do about it.
And with such a rich history, painting the picture of 92 seasons of SEOAL football takes just 2 words.
Pride and legacy, and I think that's the thing that a lot of the players and coaches and fans cared about. I mean, there was a lot of pride in winning that league, and it was a way to establish your legacy was, to win that league championship.
It was a great run for all 3 of the teams in the SEOAL this past season. Coach Hall of Jackson won his 5th conference title and even set the record for most wins in school history with 66. Even though Logan had a down year, Billy Burke and the boys won the final SEOAL game in Week 10. And after 2 winless seasons, Warren had 2 shutout wins this season under first-year coach Tim Carver. So all these teams are going out on a high note, and I think I speak for all of us when I say I'm going to miss covering such a historic group of teams, Danny.
Yeah, I'm sad that the league's coming to an end, but I'm excited to see their future. Thanks a lot, Blake. For the 3rd Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, we have Bloom Carroll's Justin Harvey. He led the Bulldogs to the 5th seed in Region 15 with 22 touchdowns through the air. He's one of the few quarterbacks in our coverage that relies on the pass first.
Justin Harvey, senior quarterback, Bloom Carroll. I'd say motivation just comes from trying to not let my teammates down and just make everyone around me proud that I'm out there on the field giving it everything that I have. When he became our coach sophomore year, I wasn't real sure how things were going to go, but over the past few years he's become probably the best coach I've ever had, and I don't know what kind of quarterback I would be without him because he's taught me a lot of the things that I'm able to do. The core of us have all been playing since that 1st and 2nd grade team, I'd say. Walking on the field next to my best friends.
First of all, I don't know what Eric's talking about because I can definitely ball, but that's a conversation for another time. I'm here with Justin Harvey, and Justin, we talked about it, one of the only pass-first quarterbacks in our area. What's it like for you to just throw a dime back there to one of your receivers, hit the mark, and then see them go into the end zone?
It's a great feeling knowing that I just had to trust my arm and then let my guys do all the work because they're a talented group of kids. And without them,
go ahead.
Without them, I wouldn't be able to get done what I get done. So.
Yeah, and you talked about Coach Bartholomew. What's it like, his energy on the sidelines and him getting you guys ready every week?
Oh, that's great. He always brings the intensity to practice. He knows how to get us riled up and how to get us working harder. And on the sidelines, you see him getting excited with us.
And then as the quarterback, as the leader of the team, what's it like to go out on such a high note for you in your final season and all the other seniors on the team?
It's great because we just set a foundation for the future players of Bloom Carroll to follow up with.
Is there any message that you want to send to those future players?
Just keep working towards the ultimate goal. Go win that league.
So yeah, winning the league, that's the ultimate goal?
Oh.
Anything else beyond that?
Well, that's the first goal.
Yeah.
But past that, we got to get that before we get the state.
All right, thanks, Justin. The bow tie's looking sharp. I like that. So stay tuned to the rest of the episode. We'll see if Justin can take home our Player of the Year award. Back over to you, Danny.
Thanks a lot, Sean. It's now time for our Tweet of the Week. I'll give the shout out to the Player of the Year finalist, Alex Mount. He came into our studio rolling deep with his whole Nelsonville York crew with him, including his head coach, Rusty Richards. Thanks for the great picture, guys, and thanks for coming out. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Glory. All right, we're about halfway through our show, and it's about time to give the first award of the night. We all know the 5 men who were the Coach of the Year finalists, they just have so much to do with the team's success. The guys with the headsets, they have so much to do with the pride of the team and the message. So this year's Gridiron Glory Coach of the Year, it's down to Rusty Richards, Dirk Lincecone, Eric McCutcheon, Jeff Metzler, and Paul Culver III. But congratulations to Coach Rusty Richards. Yeah, they're there. Hey, Coach. All right, so first of all, we have this plaque for you. Congratulations. I know you had just a huge job your first year as NY's head coach, and you were taking on a team that came off a 1-9 season. So what was your message to the players when you first started?
It started with our 13 seniors. When we first met, we talked about, turning the page, starting fresh. These kids grew up in Nelsonville, York. We've had 20 TVC titles, and they hadn't had one yet. So it was their turn. So we talked about getting that goal of winning the TVC title, and they went out and proved it on the field. They could do that. So very proud of them.
Very proud of them. Well, you led the Buckeyes to a historic season. What does that mean to you, not just to you or to the team, but just to the entire NY community?
This year was a great year, a lot more enthusiasm in the hallways, and it's all, goes back to these kids. We had a great coaching staff. These kids bought in, with a new coach, always leery of what's going to happen, but they bought into what we was selling, and they went out, and, I told them, we're going to go as far as you seniors take us, and they took us to a TVC title and got our first playoff win in 18 years, so pretty good start. So
congrats again. Congrats again on that playoff win. I mean, just such a historic moment. And you just mentioned them again, 13 seniors. How much are you going to miss these guys?
We'll miss them a lot. You always remember your first and your last one, and this is a very special group. We got Alex Mount here in the studio, carried us on his back a lot, and we had 4 senior linemen up front that blocked for him, Hunter Edwards. We got Christian Berry over here with his with Alex tonight, escorted him. Both sides of the ball. But again, our big players this year were seniors, and with our off-season awards and stuff, you could tell. So they got honored in that way. So
again, it's been an amazing season for you guys. But do you have a favorite moment or a favorite memory?
That last one, getting that TVC title against Athens. Again, we hadn't had one like Mr. Dupler had said earlier. They hadn't had one since 2010, and we hadn't had one either. And we lead our league in TVC titles. We take pride in that, and we hadn't had it for 5 years. So it was nice to get that one. And the playoff win was just icing on the cake. So, but definitely the Athens game.
Well, congratulations again on being the 2016 Coach of the Year. You really deserve it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Coach. And we now know who has the title of Coach of the Year, but you got to stick around to find out who will be Player of the Year. The winner will be crowned in less than 30 minutes. It's been a tight race, so you don't want to miss this one. And TVC Ohio reporter Klay Benjamin, he'll be up here in a little bit to tell us what was behind NY's success this season. But before we get there, it's time to give, just one moment. We had to give Rusty Richards such a big congratulations.
The TVC Ohio, comprised of 7 teams, went in a completely different direction in the 2016 season. Alexander dominated the conference last season, picking up the title, but this year Alex Penrod and Spartans found themselves finishing last and winless in the conference. The opposite happened for the Buckeyes from Nelsonville, York. NY finished last in the conference last year with a 0-6 record, but this year the Buckeyes finished the season undefeated in the conference. They suffered a tough loss against Wheelersburg in the playoffs, but ended with a 9-3 overall record. The Buckeyes were led by first-year coach Rusty Richards. Athens and Brendan Sano and River Valley and Patrick Brown competed for second and third place in the conference, and they both finished the season over 500. The Raiders are losing wide receiver Trey Craycraft, and the Bulldogs are losing an experienced and talented offensive line. After senior quarterback Cody Bartram went down with an injury, Meggs couldn't get back on the winning track and finished in 6th place. Meggs is returning 2 offensive threats, Zach Bartram and Lane Colums, next season. For Vinton County and Wilson, both teams saw an improvement by picking up more wins and moving up 1 spot in the conference compared to last season. The TVC Ohio is always full of competition and surprises. With players leaving and new ones coming in, it should be interesting to see what next season will bring.
TVC Ohio reporter Klay Benjamin joins me now. And Klay, we heard it a little bit, but what was behind NY's success this season?
Danny, I said at the end of last season, the Buckeyes needed a coach that could bring stability back to the program, and they found that in first-year head coach Rusty Richards. And he did more than that. He brought a TVC Ohio title back to NY for the first time since 2010. But as well as the job Richards did on the sideline, we can't forget about the guys on the field. The trio of Hunter Edwards, Alex Mount, and Noah Andrews all struggled in 2015, but they all had incredible seasons this year. Edwards was a leader of this offense. He finished the season with more than 1,300 yards through the air and 30 total touchdowns. Mount and Andrews combined for over 2,000 yards rushing and 24 touchdowns. Danny, it'll be hard to replace those guys next season.
Yeah, you said it, from worst to first for the Buckeyes this season. But the team they beat in the TVC title game was their rivals, the Athens Bulldogs, who also had a good season despite not making the playoffs.
It's hard to picture the Bulldogs not in the playoffs, but the Bulldogs return 4 of their big players for next season. Athens will have Robert Dickelman and Trace Albin back next season, and those guys combined for almost 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns. The Bulldogs will also have Tyler Roback and Mike Castile coming back. They do lose quarterback Brendan Sano, but the Bulldogs will have plenty of weapons next season.
Klay, what can we expect the conference to look like next season? The
TVC Ohio is no longer a 2-horse race between NY and Athens, but it's a gauntlet that requires teams to play at their best every single week. Danny, Athens is my favorite going into next year with all their returning weapons, but you got to look out for River Valley, Meggs, NY, and who knows, we could see a dark horse in Wellston.
Yeah, I mean, we could see that, and I'm excited. Thanks for your great work this season, Klay. Next year, it may not be dominated by these two teams, but speaking of River Valley and Athens, when these teams faced off, it had a huge effect on the TVC Ohio standings. It was a tale of 2 halves for the Raiders and the Bulldogs. Let's go back to this unpredictable matchup.
Senior night in Bulldog country had Athens take on River Valley with major implications. A win for Athens would help them keep pace with Nelsonville York for the league title, while River Valley had to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. While Brandon Sano was expected to be the dominant force in the game, it was a River Valley senior who took over early on. Trey Craycraft was in superhuman form early, taking a reception 35 yards into Athens territory on their first drive, then taking a rush 49 yards deep into Athens territory on their second drive. However, both drives would end with missed field goals. Brendan Sano didn't look his usual unstoppable self early on, missing open receivers and getting nowhere on runs. Bulldog offense as a whole looked overwhelmed by the River Valley defense. That was until Trace Albin broke the game open when he took a pitch, towed down the sidelines, and went 21 yards, finding himself in Raider territory. Andy Costable would come up big on 2 straight plays. First catching a high pass from Brandon Sano, breaking a tackle to get into the red zone, then taking an end around and getting 4 yards into the end zone, making it 7-0 to the Bulldogs. Not 20 seconds later, Athens would put heavy pressure on Patrick Brown and force a fumble, which Gage Penrod would scoop up and take into the end zone, giving Athens a 13-0 lead. River Valley would come right back, and Jacob Mabe would score on a short touchdown run, cutting the lead to 13-6. Although not Sano's best game, he was able to put together a solid second half and lead the Bulldogs to a 25-15 victory.
The time before our reveal is flying by, so it's time to meet another finalist. The only running back on the list, Alex Mount from Nelsonville, York. Mount pushed through injury and adversity his entire football career and still came out a leader with an impressive 13 yards per carry. It's 1st and 10 for the Buckeyes almost every time with Mount.
Alex Mount, senior, Nelson York running back. I couldn't have had this amazing season without my offensive linemen, my fullback, receivers, everyone just blocked so well for me, and it just turned out to be the way it was supposed to be. It's like the greatest sport in the world. You only get to play this game once, so we go out there and just play our hearts out. We don't ever take one play off. We don't take anything for granted. We just play for one another. I trained really hard in the off season, and I worked hard every day at practice. And unfortunately, I got injured week 10. But with football comes injuries, so I'm just supporting them on the sideline and doing everything I can to just make sure my team needs to be where they are.
All right, Nelsonville York running back Alex Mount is with me now. And Alex, after the season that you guys had last year, 1-9, last in the conference, then to this year, 9-1 and a conference title, what does that mean to you in your final season to have that kind of transformation?
It's a really special feeling. I couldn't do it without my coaches, teammates, or offensive line, of course. And this is a great way to end my senior year.
And we saw your coach, Rusty Richards. He won the Coach of the Year. What has it been like playing for him in his first year?
Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He came from Trimble, so he knew a lot. He made it far in the playoffs a few years, so.
And 12 other seniors, so 13 total seniors on your roster. Guys like Hunter Edwards. What's it like to play with them since you were little, going up until now, and what you guys accomplished in your last season?
I wouldn't want it any other way. These are my best friends. I've been playing with them since second grade, and it's been a fun time, and it finally came to an end.
And what would it mean for you to win Gridiron Glory Player of the Year?
It'd mean the world to me. It would just make me think of all the hard work I put in all these years, and it'd just be something special.
And then, how much of that, or winning the award, how much of that would go into the community as well?
That would be everything.
All right. Sounds good. The man said it himself, it'd be everything. Last year we had a Coach and Player of the Year award sweep, so we'll see if NY can do it this year.
Thanks a lot, Sean, and we'll see if that does happen later on the show. For 10 weeks, I got to hang out with the people who make Southeast Ohio football so special, the fans. Thanks to everyone for having fun with me, and a special shout out to the band members who tried to teach me their instruments. So let's take a look back at some of the best Fan of the Week moments.
It's great, it's great. You see how we pushed down there? Zach Shin got lit right in the end zone. Lit. Oh yeah.
All big Waterford fans? Yeah! Who do you think's gonna win tonight? Waterford! Waterford.
Touchdown, we let it off.
Oh, cops. You always look this stylish. I mean, these are not regular jeans.
You have to wear red and white if you come to the Jackson game.
Are you a student section leader here?
Yes, I am. 1, 2, 3.
Number 62, Connor Thomas. He plays offense. He's on the line.
Go Tornado! Go River Valley! Congratulations, Zena. You're Fan of the Week. Yeah. All of our teams in the Mid-State League and Scioto Valley Conference have been a lot of fun to cover. We even have 2 of our Player of the Year finalists that come out of these conferences. Jack Hake walks us through the 2016 season.
Out of the 5 teams we cover in the Mid-State League and Scioto Valley Conference, 3 of them made the playoffs this past season. In the Mid-State League, the Fairfield Union Falcons finished under 500 for the second year in a row at 4-6, but had the highlight of their season come when they upset Liberty Union. The Amanda Clear Creek Aces also just missed out of the playoffs, finishing at 6-4, good enough for 9th place. They defeated their arch rival, the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs, to highlight their season. Speaking of those Bulldogs, they made the playoffs with a 7-3 record before losing to regional finalists, the Shelby Whippets. Heading over to the Scioto Valley Conference, the Zane Trace Pioneers made it back to the playoffs for the second year in a row with an 8-3 record led by senior quarterback Austin Harris. The Unioto Sherman Tanks also made the playoffs for the first time in their school history, as they finished with an 8-3 record and featured Player of the Year candidate Klay Edler, the only player in our coverage area with over 1,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards. The Unioto Sherman Tanks also had Coach of the Year candidate Jeff Metzler on the sideline.
The second year covering teams near the Columbus area did not disappoint. Justin Holbrook joins me now. And Justin, what are you looking for when next season rolls around?
Well, Danny, the biggest thing to point out is the quarterbacks that are graduating from these teams. And it's only right for me to start with Unioto, who made its first ever playoff appearance. The Shermans were led by Klay Edler, who was the only quarterback in our coverage area who ran and threw for more than 1,000 yards. The defense gave up less than 21 points a game, which was enough to make this playoff season possible.
Big shoes to fill, losing Edler. And speaking of which, Zane Trace will be without his quarterback too.
Well, Danny, I said Klay was the only QB to throw and run for 1,000 yards, but get this, Austin Harris was 20 passing yards short of that feat as well. But they'll lose Harris to graduation, as well as two playmakers in Darby Pillow and Cross Schaefer. But don't worry about Coach Dwayne Hall losing players. Coming into this season, he was without 17 seniors from the year before and still made it to the playoffs.
So we've got the SVC down. What's the future looking like for the teams in the Mid-State League?
Well, there's another quarterback on the way out, and this time it's Justin Harvey at Bloom Carroll. He helped his team earn a 5 seed in the playoffs by throwing for more than 2,000 yards, by far the most of any QB we cover, while Jacob Peters had the most receiving yards. But Wade Bartholomew is a coach that doesn't rely on one or two players, so look for continued success in his third year. And rounding out the list is Amanda Clear Creek, who can build off its 6-4 season by returning quarterback Braden Neff. And Fairfield Union also returns QB Zach Shin, but the Falcons will lose 12 seniors.
Thanks so much for your great work this season. As your last time on desk, I gotta say you did a great job. It's been an outstanding year for Amanda Clear Creek in the Mid-State League. So that's what we have up next. One of the biggest games, one of the biggest upsets in the league. Amanda Clear Creek just overcame the dominant Bloom Carroll Bulldogs. Let's take a look back at how the Aces pulled out the win.
The first half was all Bloom Carroll, ending it ahead at 17-14. But in the second half, tensions were high and the action was packed. Amanda Clear Creek got the momentum started early, recovering an onside kick and a fumble. Braden Neff with the fake handoff dove into the end zone after a 7-yard drive to put the Aces up 21-17. RJ Martin then followed up and scored yet another touchdown for the Aces. But Bloom Carroll got back in the game when Justin Harvey snuck his way into touchdown territory. Then the Bulldogs bulldozed Brock Schneider, popping the football loose and pouncing on it to regain possession. On the next play, the Bulldogs capitalized on this fumble, faking out the Aces defense, and Lance Phillips slid in with a man on his back for the touchdown catch. It was 31-28. Later, Bloom Carroll missed a critical field goal that kept the Aces in the game. RJ Martin had an 80-yard drive down the field, and with just 13 seconds on the clock, Keaton Baldwin won the game for the Aces. Final score was 35-31, proving that it's not over until the whistle blows.
Time to meet the last, but certainly not least, Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, Klay Edler, senior quarterback from Unioto. 38 total touchdowns. He was 69% of Unioto's offense. He stepped up for a team that lost a lot of seniors, and he's a huge reason for their team's success and their first postseason berth as a team.
Klay Edler, senior quarterback, Unioto. Tempo, trust, teamwork, and toughness. Yeah. Those are like the core values that we have on our football t-shirts and stuff like that we get over the summer and that we wear during two-a-days. It's a brotherhood. Early on in the season, going through two-a-days, even the coaches were commenting about how tight they thought our group was. He's my favorite coach of all time growing up. I'd go to battle with that man anytime. He's a really inspiring dude. Hard work always pays off, and heart is something that you can't measure. You know, I'm not the biggest guy, but as long as you go out there, you give it your all. You know, that's the biggest thing that I want people to remember about me when I leave.
Unioto dual threat quarterback Klay Edler joins me now. And Klay, we'll get to how good you are through the air and on the ground in just a second, but as they mentioned, first playoff appearance in school history, what does that mean for you?
It means the world to me. You know, every young kid growing up
dreams about taking their team to the playoffs or, just making school history. And, we did both of those things first time in school history, like you said. It's just an amazing feeling to do that with my best friends and my teammates.
So over 1,000 yards through the air and on the ground, which do you like more, passing or running?
Personally, I like passing because then I don't have to do much of the work. I can just watch my teammates be successful. But, with a great offensive line and great receivers, it made my job pretty easy this year.
And then you also play on the defensive side of the ball. What's your favorite part about that?
My favorite part about defense is trying to take away the best offensive threat. So, I get put on the best receiver, so trying to cover them it's a great challenge every week.
What would it mean for you to win Gridiron Glory Player of the Year?
To me, it would mean a lot to me individually, but I think it would mean a lot to my teammates as well, getting that recognition. It's not just me out here.
All right, well, you won't have to wait too much longer. Just a few more minutes until we announce our 2016 Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. Stay tuned. Back over to you, Danny.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Like you said, just a few more minutes. Before we get there, how could we end the season if we didn't revisit the top plays of the season? It was a lot of fun, but tough going through and picking out the top 10 plays. But here they are, the best of the best. Let's roll them out. Let's kick it off at number 10 with the Jackson Ironman. Bryce Hall drops back and slings a beautiful pass right into the hands of Dylan Coffey. Coffey takes it down the sideline for a 69-yard touchdown. Hall normally takes it on the ground, but this man is great through the air. For number 9, let's go out to Athens. Brendan Sano gets it, drops back, and finds his man Robert Dickelman. He breaks away and dives into the end zone for a 43-yard touchdown. Moving on to number 8, I gotta give it to the Southern Tornadoes. Jalen Blanks takes the handoff, and he wasn't even touched. He goes down the sideline and went 62 yards all the way to the house. Before his injury, Blanks was huge for the Tornadoes this year. Time for number 7, let's go back to Jackson. You've heard all about this guy, Johnny Farley. Talk about freaky fast. He breaks some tackles and forces his way for a 50-yard touchdown. Number 6, straight out of Belpre, it's got to go to Dejon Bedgood. He takes this kick return off the left sideline, escapes a tackle, jukes out of another defender, and then takes it all the way down the right sideline into the end zone. At the halfway point, we have the Maysville Panthers. Evan Brown gets the quick pass, but he's tackled and the ball pops out. Carson Jarrett is right there to grab it, and this man just tiptoes to the end zone. Time for number 4, Player of the Year finalist Klay Edler coming out for Uni Odo with his kick return. He looks like he has rockets strapped to his shoes. Look at this guy. He just sauces Zane Trace defenders for a 91-yard touchdown. Let's get to the top 3. We'll give it to the Philo Electrics. Nate Baker throws a missile to Colt Moore. He gets it with one hand, bobbles it, but then tucks it right into his chest. Time for number 2. Trimble quarterback Ryan Richards launches it 27 yards to Jacob Hardy, and Hardy pulling out that impressive one-handed snag. That's just some straight-up skill. And for the top play of the year, the Megs Marauders. Zach Helton passes to Bailey Carruthers. It's nearly picked off, but Carruthers reaches over and says, "No thanks, that's all mine." He runs it to the house for a 57-yard touchdown. All right, you've waited almost an hour to find out who will be the next Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. All 5 finalists had standout seasons and are worthy of the title, but at the end of the day, there can only be one. After all the hard work, all the success, and all the suspense, it's finally time to name this year's winner. The 2016 Player of the Year is Alex Mount.
on. We rolling over. We're coming.
Rolling over in style.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome up to the desk. All right, congratulations, Alex.
Thank you.
So you've just fought through, like I said earlier, so much injury and adversity and put so much hard work. But how does it feel to finally become the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year?
You know, it's a great feeling. You know, I've had a lot of injuries since my freshman year, and unfortunately last year I pulled my hamstring week 5, and I was out for the rest of the season. You know, and I just thought to myself, just never give up, never quit. You know, and this is why I'm here today. You know.
And if there's anything you could say to your parents, your family, your teammates, what would you say?
Yeah, I love them all.
Love them all. Well,
You know, I couldn't be here without my teammates, coaches, the community, and anything.
all right. Well, congratulations,
Thank you.
Alex, on a great season and being this year's Player of the Year. And that'll do it for us here. It's really hard to believe that the 18th season of Gridiron Glory has finally come to an end, but it's been a huge honor to host this show, and I couldn't have done it without any of my Gridiron family. Everything we do here, it's for the players, the coaches, the communities. So we thank you guys so much. And again, I got to thank my crew and everyone. But sadly, for the last time, these 14 weeks have gone by so fast, I'll never forget it. I'm your host, Danny Dean, telling you that there is nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.